Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and in today's video we're going to have the latest from the live radar, as we do have heavy snow moving in for many regions in the north. We'll have a look at the latest weather warnings, as we do have widespread yellow warnings issued that have been updated today, extended in certain regions, and the likelihood increased, which means an amber warning could be issued perhaps overnight tonight into tomorrow. We'll then have a look at the latest shorter range models, looking at the UKV, arpege and arome runs to see what the rest of this snow has in store, as it is only just arriving as I'm recording this. So we still even have some discrepancy between the models, both in positioning and type of precipitation over the next 12 to 24 hours. And then in the final part of the video, we'll have a look at the longer range, look at the GFS, GM, ECMWF and the ensembles, looking at the breakdown of this cold weather which is likely to arrive this weekend, but also the prospects of this cold weather returning into early December, as we are seeing decently strong signs that high pressure could get going to our north once again as we head to the start of official winter. So do remember, if you enjoy my videos, make sure you like and subscribe, and remember to follow me on Twitter as well, the link's in the description. That said, if we start on the live radar, you can see we do have snow falling in some northern regions at the moment. We've got a bit of a battle here between milder air in the south, colder air in the north, and that colder air is going to make more progress over the coming hours. So although at the moment we are seeing some rain across parts of the Midlands, up towards northwest, North Wales and Northern Ireland, more of this will turn to snow over the coming hours. You can see already inland across parts of the Peak District here, down even into the Midlands towards Nottingham, Derby, we are seeing heavy snow starting to fall, and this will become a lot more widespread over the next few hours as this does move further and further inland. Areas to the south of this, maybe even as far south as Birmingham and towards the west, towards northern Wales, perhaps could see some snow tonight, but more likely as we head into Tuesday, as we see more of that colder air undercutting it. The amount of accumulating snow we're going to see is highly uncertain, as it will all depend on that freezing level, how quickly those temperatures drop overnight tonight, and whether we do see any rain over the coming hours. If you're already starting in snow, wouldn't be surprised to see significant accumulations, but if you're starting in rain, that will put a bit of a buffer, as the ground will be above freezing, so it'll take a little bit of time to overcome that. So it is going to be really iffy how much snow we actually see on the ground through tomorrow, but if you've got any elevation, expect a covering of snow, maybe as much as 5 to 10 centimetres, and over some higher hills, especially in the Peak District, 20 centimetres is a possibility. Towards low-lying areas, perhaps you could see maybe up to 5 centimetres if you're lucky, especially where it's already snowing, but for those other regions, more likely to be only a couple of centimetres, and again, that's all dependent on the typing through the morning and potentially into tomorrow afternoon, as we could see a second wave of precipitation that does give a larger area of snow, perhaps more across the Midlands, maybe into South Wales, and maybe just nudging towards southern England, but we'll look at those in the short range runs in a moment. But you can see though, for most in the south, it is rain, and it will remain rain for the next sort of 12 hours, and it could turn to snow maybe in a few spots during the afternoon tomorrow. But because of the timings and because of the amount of rain and mild air we have around at the moment, it will just be falling snow for those southern regions. No real chance of any settling snow. It will just be falling snow if we are lucky. Now further northwards, to the north of this weather front, it is absolutely frigid. Temperatures well below freezing already, and you can see across northern Scotland, all showers coming inland are falling as snow, even ones out across the ocean. So very cold air mass pushing in, and it's digging in from the north, while this low pressure system is trying to nudge in. And eventually the cold air wins out, and this low pressure system gets pushed all the way back in towards Europe. So for some in southern areas, it is raining right now. It's just cold rain, but it doesn't really feel all too wintry, and that's because of the huge temperature collision. And we can see at the moment that contrast towards southern areas, temperatures maybe even double digits overnight tonight. Head towards the Midlands, it's kind of a transition from some kind of 6 or 7 degrees in the South Midlands towards the North Midlands, down towards freezing, and then to the north of that, widely below freezing. And you can see already in Scotland, temperatures well below freezing in most areas. So massive temperature contrast, and these lighter blues will be heading in for all over the next 12 to 24 hours as this low pressure system does pull away, bringing more heavy snow for some. Now, if you look at the weather warnings, we've seen numerous updates over the course of today. We've got this warning still in northern regions that does cover from 4 p.m. today, until 10 a.m. tomorrow. It is the same warning pretty much as we saw over the weekend, but has been extended all the way through to Wednesday for snow showers in the north. Again, we're looking at 2 to 5 centimetres quite widely, maybe up to 10 centimetres in some places and 15 to 20 centimetres above the higher ground. There could be a bit of sleet and sort of groundpool mixing in, maybe some wintry showers more towards the coasts. But for most, we are going to see heavy snow simply because the air mass across northern Scotland is very cold. Look at the further details, medium impact and very low likelihood again expected with one of these snow shower warnings. Now further southwards we've got 2 larger warnings across Northern Ireland, Northern England that are for persistent snow. Now, if we look at this warning across Northern Ireland here, we can see it covers 3 p.m. today until 10 a.m. tomorrow. So not as long of a period as the other warning that we'll also have a look at across England. And that's because the precipitation will clear this region into the morning. If we do look at it, you can see outbreaks of rain will arrive from the west during Monday, and it will turn to sleet and perhaps wet snow during the afternoon, evening and first part of the night. Snow is expected above 200 to 300 metres, and we could see 5 to 10 centimetres, as we just saw from the live radar, already snow falling. You can see though settling snow is unlikely on lower ground. However, as skies clear later on in the evening into the early hours of the morning, we could see a hard frost. And this is because that precipitation moved in earlier in the day. So a lot of the heavier precipitation is moving through at the moment, or has already moved through where the air has been not conducive to snow. So snowfall is really only over the higher ground, maybe later on tonight, but it'll lose its intensity and won't be able to overcome the wet and mild surface temperatures that we will have. But with the skies clearing, it will allow those temperatures to drop away quite quickly once the precipitation does and cloud does clear, and that's where we could see ice. So mainly snow over higher ground here, ice perhaps to low-lying areas into the morning. Now further eastwards, we've got this larger snow and ice warning, not really covering coastal areas, as I've said numerous times over the last week or so. It is unlikely with this wintry spell, apart from Scotland, where of course it's much closer to the source of cold air. It is unlikely we'll see significant snow towards coastal regions, just because of the very warm sea surface temperatures we still do have, relative speaking there, of course. Of course, the sea surface temperatures peaked only 2 or 3 months ago, so we're not actually too far off their max. Of course, they'll get cooled down quite considerably by this spell, but they are still well above freezing. And, towards sort of late spring, they get down towards mid to high single digits. But at the moment, still well into double digits. And that does mean that it does moderate that air to a certain degree. And that means snow is only going to be likely inland. You can see here, this warning is from 3 p.m. until again 10 a.m. tomorrow. From 7 p.m. today until 10 a.m. tomorrow. And you can see again, we're looking at snow through Monday night into Tuesday. A period of rain, sleet and snow will occur during Monday evening, overnight into Tuesday morning. And the most likely scenario is for most of the snow to be over the hills, 5 to 10 centimetres above 200 metres. And to be honest, for Northern England, that is quite a large region. Quite a lot of Northern England has got higher elevation. 200 metres isn't actually too high for this area. So looking at 5 to 10 centimetres for those regions, maybe 15 to 20 above 300 metres, and there's a chance of snow at lower lying areas where 5 to 10 centimetres is possible, and it looks most likely across Yorkshire and Derbyshire, so sort of down the central spine here. Again though, very, very uncertain, as we'll see from the precipitation charts in a minute. Rain, sleet and snow will clear on Tuesday morning, and ice will form on untreated surfaces. You can see medium impact and low likelihood, very close to an amber warning, so I wouldn't be surprised if that snow got pretty significant later on this evening. We saw a very short-term amber warning issued. Again, it's one of those situations where, from the looks of the model, we don't have enough assurance to issue an amber warning, but the impacts are there. So it's an impossible situation where we could be in a situation when we need an amber warning in the morning, but at the same time, we've not got the confidence in it because of the marginality of this system. So yeah, very difficult. Impacts could be amber warning worthy. We could see widespread disruptive snow, but at the same time, if we see those temperatures a degree or so milder than forecast at the moment, then it could just be a bit of rain mixing in as well, meaning significant snow is more over higher ground and not as widespread. So yeah, very difficult one there, but disruptive snow expected in this region. Just how much and exactly where is difficult to say. Into Tuesday, we still have these warnings issued. I'm expecting to potentially see an extension of that warning across central England because we are expecting more snow potentially during the afternoon. But again, massive uncertainty with the typing of that. And then we finally got another warning as said into Wednesday, and that's that warning further northwards. But as said, I am expecting another update tomorrow to extend these, but there's just massive uncertainty at this stage. Now, if you go over to the latest UKV and have a look at the precipitation and the temperature over the coming days, you can see heavy snow moving in over the course of this evening, mainly for those northern regions, quite widespread around midnight, and it could drag further southwards during the early hours of the morning, but eventually it does clear around sunrise. There is the risk of some more snow during the afternoon, but the UKV not really forecasting it here. So again, massive discrepancy. But as we'll see from a couple of runs in a minute, the arpege in the Rome actually produces more significant snow during the afternoon across the Midlands. So we're not seeing much here from the UKV, but other runs are showing it. So yeah, a real headache potentially for this system. Elsewhere, quite a few snow showers, but interestingly, through Wednesday, a big activation in snow showers, even coming quite far inland down the east coast potentially. That's one to keep a very close eye on. With the temperatures being well below freezing, we could see a quick dumping of snow there from an hour or two of heavy convective snow. But then look what happens into Thursday. We see this little low pressure system nudging into South Wales and southwest England. And again, it could give some heavy snow in the south. We've seen this from a few runs over the past few days, but we've still not got a lot of agreement. So UKV finally going for it, but the arpege, which was confident in it yesterday, isn't as much going for it. So again, one of those systems where it could give something disruptive through Thursday, through Thursday night there, but we've got real low confidence in it at this stage. Eventually, though, into Friday, you can eventually see the big area of low pressure arriving for the weekend. Frontal snowfall on the edge, leading edge is possible, but it is expected to turn all back to rain by the end of the day. And if you look at the upper air temperatures, you can see that milder slot in the south at the moment eventually is going to get pushed away by the colder air. And you can see we're all into colder air for the rest of the week before eventually that milder air returns through the weekend. If you look at the max temperatures, you can see this afternoon, mild in the south, 7 to 10 degrees, in the north, below freezing. Into tomorrow, by the afternoon, all are cold, around freezing in those northern regions, which have been in the cold air for the past day or so. Southern regions, 5 or 6 degrees, but feeling a hell of a lot colder. Into Wednesday, widespread overnight frost into the morning, and by the afternoon, most areas struggling to get much above freezing, especially northern areas, but southern areas 2 to 4 degrees at best. And the same can be said for Thursday, widespread overnight frost, and by the afternoon, again, most regions struggling to get above freezing, maybe 3 or 4 degrees at best towards the south coast. And then Friday, very similar temperatures before eventually into Saturday, turning milder from the southwest. If you look at the latest arpege for the precipitation charts, again, you can see the heavy snow over the course of this evening. And then look what happens as we head into Tuesday afternoon. More heavy snow potentially developing across the Midlands and Wales. And this is why I'm saying there's a more widespread risk through tomorrow. And I wouldn't be surprised to see another warning issued. So this is why we got, it's very difficult to forecast this because the UKV at midday had no precipitation. The arpege had quite significant precipitation there for western parts, and the air is much more snow conducive, so it could cause further issues there, falling onto areas that already seen snow and potentially to areas that haven't seen snow yet and could cause a bit of havoc during the morning. It is going to be one to keep a very close eye on, but at this stage, UKV not showing much, arpege showing something quite significant there through the afternoon. As we head through the rest of Tuesday and Wednesday, lots of those heavy convective showers moving in. And then into Thursday, we do see that system pushing in, but really only for the far southwest, not really pushing too far inland before eventually clearing away. So again, big headaches for that system as well before eventually clearing. And you see lots of snow showers still around before eventually into the weekend dissipating away completely. Now, if you compare to the Rome run, only goes out to 42 hours, unfortunately. So we don't have data out towards sort of Thursday at this time frame, but we can see the snow coming over the next day or so. You can see through the course of this evening, you can see those yellows and pinks slash purples. Those pinks and purples are just snow. The amber or orangey, yellowy colours, that is more of a mix. So it's where it could be sleet, it could be snow, it could be a bit of rain, ice pellets. It's just a general wintry mix where it means it's not clear cut. Within there, we are still likely to see lots of snow. It just means that it's not guaranteed, if that makes sense. So you can see a lot of that mix through the course of this evening, maybe all turning to snow through the early hours of Tuesday. But then look what happens again into the early hours of the morning towards lunchtime. Another area of snow moving in, very similar to the arpege. It looks like the UKV is a bit of an outlier there, and maybe the Met Office shouldn't have just relied on the UKV, because that's what it seems like they've done for their weather warnings, because the other runs here are showing potentially some more snow during the afternoon, which yet doesn't bode well if we don't have any warnings at all issued. So it could be one of those we see another widespread yellow warning issued in the morning if this precipitation looks like it's going to arrive. Massive discrepancies here. Pretty ridiculous, if I'm being honest, between the UKV and other high-resolution runs. And this is under 24 hours time from the time of this run. So yeah, very interesting. And again, it just means that when we're looking at sort of Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, if we can't forecast the next 24 hours, we've got no chance of giving detail on the potential snow in the south through Thursday evening. Eventually that does clear, and it could, as I said, give a bit of mixing towards southern areas. Again, we're just expecting a bit of falling snow, potentially not anything too major, before clearing away, and then just seeing plenty of snow showers further northwards. Now, that's kind of the end of the video in terms of the immediate snowfall impacts. We'll have a look at it again over the next few days, but I do want to focus more on the longer range, because I do feel like sometimes when we do have immediate impactful events, we do forget about the longer range sometimes, and it can kind of spring up on us by the end of the sort of the period of disruptive weather. So I do want to keep on top of it, keep up to date, and again, it does look very interesting into late November, early December. We've got very cold northerly winds at the moment, but you can see if we do skip towards kind of the end of the week, we do see quite a lively storm system moving in from the west. Again, maybe could even be a named storm looking at the pressure levels, but I think it is touch and go. Probably not, but we'll wait and see. Beyond that low eventually clears, but look, high pressure never fully goes away to our north and eventually does pull in northeasterly or easterly winds. Now, because of the setup, because Europe is still pretty mild, we've not seen that much cold air across northern Europe so far, and it is still November, we haven't actually got a very cold easterly wind to tap into. But nonetheless, it's still chilly and it's still massively blocked to our northeast. And right towards the end of the run, we're still pulling in easterly winds. Eventually, we're starting to drag in some cold, if not very cold air by early December. And again, if we see the proper push from the east, it could go very cold and wintry as we head into the lead up to Christmas if this does occur. So again, it's one of these runs where it's not directly very cold, but it's very much in the realm where we only need very small changes, and it could go very cold and wintry here from the latest GFS. Now, if you compare it to the latest GEM, again, northerly winds continue to pump in from the Arctic. That low moves through later this week, and it goes pretty stormy. And then again, as we head towards day 10, again, we've got high pressure over the top of us, trying to drag an easterly flow. But again, look up towards Greenland. Another big block is developing, sustaining itself. So again, I wouldn't be surprised we see a bit of retrogression from this high, and we unlock the door to northerly winds once again into early December. So very similar to the GFS. It isn't directly cold, but it's having a setup that could, in the subsequent days, develop something very cold once again. And finally, if we compare to the ECMWF, again, very cold at the moment. We can see we can actually go out all the way to 360 hours. Haven't really addressed that in much detail, but yeah, the Western Central and generally now ECMWF allows data out towards 360 hours. It's always existed, it's just not been publicly available, but now it is, so we can actually have a look more into the extended range here. And you can see that low moves in for the weekend, all in agreement that it's going to move through northern regions, which means there's very low chance of any sustained snow, front edge snow possible, but sustained snow, none. And you can see eventually into the longer range, we do see a westerly flow for a time, but right into the extended range, once again, high pressure up towards Scandinavia, and it's trying to bring in those winds from the east. And you see there is a big cold pool pushing into Eastern Europe, and again, I would not be surprised if that headed straight for Northern and Western Europe in the subsequent days. So all three main operational runs this evening, not developing anything massively cold, but all developing into synoptic patterns that would support cold in their subsequent days. Very interesting from these runs. And again, it supports the ideas we've both seen from the videos over the last week and in our winter look ahead that we had on Saturday, that colder weather is unlikely to be done with us. It is likely to return in the coming weeks. The atmosphere is primed for more colder spells, and I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a big return as we head in towards December, maybe even late November, if we're lucky. Now to finish, if we look at the latest ensembles, you can see they're updating at the moment. Very cold the rest of this week, next sort of 3 or 4 days, all very cold, turning into the weekend, turning milder, and then into the longer term towards the end of November. It is chilly, hovering around average, some colder runs, some milder runs, but not expecting anything too far from average. Precipitation is moderate, so it is likely to turn much more unsettled. Goodbye to any of those drier conditions, and as I said, it is likely to be pretty chilly as well. 2-week temperatures very cold this week, turning milder into the weekend, maybe up towards the double digits once again, but into next week probably down into the high single digits. And finally, if we compare to the ECMWF ensembles, they are a little bit colder, much colder this week. Big rise and spike into the weekend, and then a drop into the following week, and hovering around average. Some milder runs, some colder runs. You see the operational ECMWF there is very mild, but as we just saw from its actual synoptic pattern, it would go very cold in the subsequent days. So again, you can't always, in these sort of blocking scenarios, rely on these exact upper air temperature lines, because they could be primed for something very cold. The cold air mass could be a matter of miles away, but just because it hasn't fully arrived, it doesn't show it. So it's sometimes a bit of a drawback from looking at these charts. And that's why it's always important to actually look at the proper visuals, especially for those operational runs. So we've got very cold and wintry weather coming over the coming days. In northern regions, could be some disruptive snow over the next 24 hours. Do make sure you stay safe out there. Don't take risks. Again, ice is likely to be a big issue because we are looking at widespread precipitation, whether it's rain, sleet or snow. With all that moisture around, we are likely to see significant ice through Tuesday morning and into Wednesday as well. So do be vigilant out there. And of course, because of the marginality, there will be areas that get disappointed, that have got forecasted snow and see very little. There equally will be areas that are not forecasted much or a bit of falling snow that could see something significant. So we've got both edges of the scale there. So make sure you do stay safe. No guarantees with this wintry weather. But yeah, definitely looks like it will be disruptive in places. And of course, we are going to see a lull this weekend. It is going to turn milder, but still very unsettled, for winter could bite once again as we actually head towards the proper winter months. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you again for another video soon.